In what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? It was important that I had a balance of using, developing, and challenging forms and conventions when creating my media products. I did this in order to make it successful. In my genre research, I was able to figure out the conventional narrative structure for my chosen genre, which was horror, and my subgenre, which was slasher. I analysed slasher horror films such as I Know What You Did Last Summer and Halloween. I did this as part of my textual analysis. Within this, I noted they followed the typical conventions for a slasher horror film, the same conventions found in Todorow's theory. As I was targeting the same demographic of these films, I used and developed ideas from both popular horror films in order to make mine as well produced and as well established as they already were. Throughout the creation of my trailer, I chose to use and develop Todorow's theory on a narrative structure. I followed his 5-step structure and began with an equilibrium stage, and then went to a disruption of an equilibrium with some action, a recognition stage, and then repair the disruption, while then ending in a reinstatement of the equilibrium. However, I developed the equilibrium stage. I did so by including a radio station which mentioned a killer on the loose in the beginning of the trailer. This helped break up the equilibrium with the reaction of the character in the backseat who was looking worried. However, after this there was still a calm atmosphere, so it still followed the conventions of using a state of equilibrium at the beginning of the trailer. Aside from this, my trailer uses the narrative convention and follows the structure of Todorow's theory stages, so I therefore used his convention. I wanted to make the narrative aspect visible within my trailer. I did so by using the caption, "Some things are not to be disturbed." I used this to imply a reason to why the antagonist is out to attack the vulnerable teenagers. This is a common feature found in many slasher narratives, such as I Know What You Did Last Summer. And as I am targeting slasher horror film fans, they would already be aware of this conventional narrative structure, so would therefore be expecting to see evidence of the plot that opens in a state of disequilibrium within the trailer as it intensifies from there on as the plot progresses. When analysing slasher horror films such as Last House on the Left, I noticed that most of the trailers started with the music at the beginning of the trailer, during the equilibrium stage. I used this convention within my trailer. I did this because the music helped trap the audience's attention to the trailer and create a sinister atmosphere, which helped set the mood for the film and instantly imply the genre even during the equilibrium stage. It then immediately cut to a voiceover of the radio news reporter to foreshadow the events that might occur within the film. I use this convention found in many slasher films I analyse within my text analysis. As the voiceover helps develop the narrative for the audience and imply the genre of the film through the speech, I also use this convention. I continue to use sound throughout my trailer, changing the pace of the music to fit the part of the narrative within my trailer at that point in time. Towards the end montage, I used the convention used in many slasher horror films. I did this by having a fast-paced music when the end montage was on the screen to match the quick editing cuts in the montage. This meant the music speeds up throughout the trailer to fit the scene. Being at the fastest pace during the end montage helped create dramatic tension for the audience as the music suddenly changes speed at the end, which will then also engage the audience's attention. The music also helped represent the disruption stage within the trailer, the maximum tension within the story, a convention used by all horror film trailers, and again a part of Todorow's theory. My trailer was conventional by using both the female and male characters as the victims for my trailer, a convention used in Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, as the stereotypical male often acts brave but eventually is the first to die and the final girl is left to deal with the antagonist alone. Making the teenage male the victim meant he was represented in a stereotypical way by being presented with no power, a convention I used from well-established slasher horror films such as Scream. Although males are stereotypically brave, in horror films they usually subvert this. I did this by using a close-up high-angle shot when recording him tied up to the tree with cuts and bruises on his face. The use of this convention represents him as vulnerable and powerless as the camera will be looking down on him. This is also done through the point of view of the antagonist, as I didn't show much shots of him, so I therefore included a lot of viewpoints from his point of view, so the audience would be looking through his eyes, which also helped build up tension and create enigma for the audience. This was a common convention used in the genre of horror, as it often implies the point of view from the antagonist with thin film. Moreover, I used institutional conventions within my trailer. It was used in most slasher film trailers. I did this by using the beginning of the trailer with the green restriction screen and ending the film trailer with the billing block. It was important I followed and used this convention as the audience would be familiar and understand it's a typical trailer layout and know where the film is starting and ending. Again, my billing block followed a conventional pyramid layout to match the ones used on my other media products. I made sure to include the names of the people that helped produce the film in a larger font to stand out to the audience who might recognise them from other successful films. However, a convention used within the genre of horror is not to use well-known actors or actresses. I followed this convention as I also wanted to make my audience to watch and guess that the well-known actress isn't automatically the stereotypical final girl. I use captions within my trailer as they help give my audience more information about the story. Many film trailers use captions, especially slasher films, who usually use them to conventionally build up tension within the narrative. Therefore, I use this convention to give the audience more information about the story. I developed it by using the radio to help create the narrative, as I mentioned in the beginning. By using this sound of the news reporter on the radio, it also created a tense sense of realism within the film, as the radio helped foreshadow the narrative by mentioning a killer on the loose heading towards the woods that the teenagers were also heading towards.